I don't think we have any customers who can buy trophy properties. So this is just because we are into GIC stories, so I just show you a few where our CPF money goes to, right? All these prestigious building all over the world, right? This is Australia, this is America. Okay, another principle will be to buy an old property and rebuild. Now again, just in case you say that, why you always give all the big examples? Now this one, my very good friend called me January 2020, before the pandemic. So he called me, and then we had lunch. And then while having lunch, he said, Sam, I decided to redevelop my own apartment block with an architect friend. So anyway, he's living in the project, but he owned the whole block. Now, so this is a very close friend in church. So we co-lead a cell, a Christian cell. So we meet each other I think more than twice a week. So he's closer to me than my own brother. So he says, Sam, what do you think? I need to hear from you. All right. So the architect already come up with all the study and all that. So I say, no. I know you are very wealthy, but you are not that wealthy until you can become your own developer. But okay, so now, but for people who want to do that, usually they already figure out whether they are going to own all the units in the building and then they lease out. That's called income approach. Or they're not interested in the building at all. They're just going to redevelop and then they sell every single unit. That's called the cash flow approach. Now, let me now show you why I told my very close friend that no, you're not rich enough to do that. I'm very direct. Now, this is SBS, Singapore Bus Service, and the news is 1994. So for those of you who are familiar with King Albert Park, so we are talking about the bus depot next to King Albert Park. All right, now it is called King Albert. All right, the condo is called King Albert. It's next door to King Albert KAP. All right, so KAP is on the elevated ground, very messy, very big, and recently TOP. Now we're talking about the neighbor, dark one. No, most of you never notice when you drive past. You never notice one. All right. So that was the location of the bus depot, which was reclassified residential in 1993. All right. So in 1994, Singapore Bus Service, all right, SBS, now it's called Delgro, they decided to go into property development themselves. They call themselves SingPass Land Private Limited. All right. And then they make $30 million in King Albert Park. Now, that is easily worth 150 million today, all right, because we are talking about 30 years ago. And by 1997, wow, they say property investment is their main engine of growth. But look at 1999. They closed down. They closed down totally. Not just closed down, they lost 224 million. Now, they make 30 million the first try. After that, for 5 years, they lost 224 million. They are public listed, by the way. So they embargoed the article, so I can only screenshot the headline. So the reason is very simple. 1998, currency crisis affected everybody. So the buyer went missing. The funds also, promised funds that promised to come in also eventually never came. All right. So even a big company can collapse. All right. So when I told my very good friend in January 2020 that no, this game is not for you, by April we locked down already. So in the end, he just sold. It's not en bloc because he owned every unit. So it's not reflected as an en bloc sale. Okay. And if your investors do not have enough money to buy into one small project, they can actually buy units inside all projects and wait for en bloc. So another principle, right? Another strategy. The principle behind is the redevelopment value. So the earlier example is a big one. Redevelopment value, redevelop the whole project. And the principle is the same, but except you own only a few units. All right? And okay, my parting shot, the last 5 minutes, then I want to talk about the choice of rentable apartment. Now we are not talking about commercial and office or shops already. We just talk about what we are most familiar, that is buying into an apartment and then rent out. Now that's called investment, right? Okay, you must rent out. Okay, so if you don't rent out, then it's not called investment. That's called speculation, right? Okay, so rent out. So then, I'm old school. Real estate investment, to me, is just buying into an investment property, operate the investment property as a landlord, find a tenant, use it, collect rent, settle the mortgage, and then the amortization grow, and you become wealthier through amortization, and eventually you sell the property, and then you take back the savings. The savings is not your money, through your own money, is through the tenant's contribution every month. So this simple model, revenue model, to me is very precious, because people try to corrupt it by saying that nobody interested in rental anymore, therefore nobody look at rental yield anymore. No. This is the most basic, all right, that is incorruptible. In fact, I ask you a question. When the price start to drop, how do you prove that the price is cheap? You still have to go back and look at the yield and say that, okay, the yield is very high, all right, to convince people the yield is very high. That proves that the price is cheap. Okay? Now, investors rely on market research on the rentability factor. So now I'm going to show you. It may surprise people, especially if you have been told certain things that is not true. All right, January to July. By 16 September, I will have the August data. But January to July is more than 6 months. In fact, I have data date back as far back as 2007. Now, so the percentage of shoebox is always 10 to 11%.
So it's good to buy bigger.
All right. So the most popular apartment type is 800 square feet to 1,002 square feet. Here, it takes out about 1/3 of your rental transaction. And something very interesting happens after the reopening. I told you we have like 212,000 expats right now in Singapore. We don't have enough condos to serve them. So you see that the trend has been changed. Now, January this year, 4.7% of rental apartments are larger apartments. Now, even lower, the numbers is like 2-3% only. All right, so it increase. Now it's 6.1. Now I think the trend is there already because June is 5.2, July is 6.1. So I believe even if August it dropped a little bit, I think we are in the 5% region already. All right, so even larger from 1.3, 1.4%, you see 1.2, 1.34% go up to 1.8. So this one I'm still watching. This one may drop back to 1.5 we don't know. All right, but you see larger apartments more or less trending up. So okay, so that means now you invest in apartments, you got to be very careful. Further statistics. This one I took from another course, which I also have here in LMA. It's called How to Interpret the Real Estate Market. Now, why do I disagree with this statement? That is, smaller apartments are easier to rent out. Why I disagree with this? You look at the statistics. This is 23 years, right? 23 years. So the market share, now 23 years, that means I take from every year the new launch. So there will be no repeat. Every year the new launch, so add together. Shoebox represent 11.8%, but rent out only 10%. All right. So smallish apartment, all right, 25%, rent out only 24%. The rest not enough. Now, this is not convincing at all. This statistics is not convincing at all. Let me slice the statistics further to show you. 13 year. Just now that one is 23 years. 13 years statistics. That means, I believe your expats wants to live in newer property. So if the property is 10-year-old, 12-year-old, thereabout, I think they're already not so happy, right? 10 over years old, fair enough. But if the property is 20 over years old, I am not so sure. So now, if I am looking at a 13-year-old property, I mean, property that TOP in the past 13 years, Shoebox apartment is 17.1%. These are all the new launches add together for 13 years. Smallish apartment, 35.4%. So you add the two together, all right, new home launch in the last decade, in fact 13,